Let's call to order the meeting of the Green Bay Traffic, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Commission for Monday, May 18th, 2020, at 4 p.m. here Monday afternoon. So we'll move on to item A, Zoom meeting information. I think everybody's probably got the information. This item contains documents which provide call-in information instruction for the Zoom meeting. So I notice people can also view it at YouTube at some point, right then, Dave?
We're actually live streaming right now.
Oh, you're live streaming YouTube? Okay, all right. Okay, good deal. Let's have a roll call of members then. Member Chairperson Matt Keepers here. Vice Chairman Dan Dino.
Here.
Yay, if you're here. Alderman Craig Stevens.
Here.
Alderman Brad Strew.
I'm here.
Bridget Reardon. Ray Smith.
Here.
Stephanie Birmingham. Okay, I think they're probably absent at this point unless they come to the meeting. Then we have Alderman Galvin on too. Is that it then, Dave?
I believe so. And just to correct the record, you said Alderman Strofe. It's actually Lieutenant Strofe.
No, Dad, Brad, I'm trying to give you another title, Brad. Sorry about that.
I wear a lot of hats.
Okay, thank you for the correction. Let's go to item C then, approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of the agenda in the minutes.
Okay. I had a motion been made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, let's move on to item 1 in the general business then. Consideration with possible action on the request by the traffic engineer to move the time of all regularly scheduled traffic, bicycle, and pedestrian commission meetings for the foreseeable future due to the limitations that the city can only live stream one meeting at a time. So, Dave, you and I kind of talked. I'll start out here, and everybody can kind of, say what they want on this item. Normally, I do work till 5 o'clock, so I'm kind of playing hooky from work for an hour here, which is the end of the world. I'm okay being away from work for an hour. So, short term, I think I'm okay with the 4 o'clock, but I don't, who knows if we're going to go back to the real world at some point. I don't know. It might be 2 or 3 months, or it might be next year. But so I do have kind of a concern of having the 4 o'clock meeting, although I think I could make it. I guess I'm curious to know what the rest of the commissioners and the alders think, and Brad, their timing for the meeting. So, but that's kind of my take. It does cut into my work time, but like I said, let's see where it goes and what everybody else thinks about moving the meeting to 4 o'clock. Just let me ask you, Dave, one thing. Were you thinking this is just a temporary 4 o'clock? Why this kind of world we're living in right now, or do you foresee it as a forever type thing?
No, I see this as temporary. The only reason I put this on there is because there are multiple committees or commissions that meet at the same time on the third Monday of the month. And because of the limitations that we have with that, we're forced to move and shift these meeting start times around to accommodate the live stream. So I'm really looking at this and really threw that out there just as a temporary measure. And I think as soon as we are off of the requirement of the live stream, because once we do get back to normal, I do not believe we will be live streaming. Shelby, maybe if you're still there, if you can chime in, is that the case?
I do not know the specifics on it. I assume that once City Hall is open for the public to attend meetings, we would stop live streaming. But we can confirm with the law department on that. Okay.
All right. Yeah, mine is really tied to that. Behind what's going on behind this request. I have no problems moving it up to 4 p.m. I have no issues keeping it at 5:30. I have, some of the issue that we've had is that I believe it was either Planning Commission or Board of Appeals, and they send out these public hearing notices. They've been sending them out very early, and when this comes up, the response has been that it's difficult for them to move their meeting because they've already sent out notices to the public. So we end up getting moved. Not the end of the world. It's not a big deal, but I just, in response to some of that discussion, just said, we should really come up with something semi-permanent, or I guess just temporary, I guess you could just say, until this is all over. But my intention was just to come up with an agreed upon time that works for most everybody. And once we are off the live stream, we go back to normal meeting in person, and we go back to our 5:30 time.
Okay. All right. Does any other commissioners want to give their thoughts on a temporary basis? Maybe if this time doesn't work, what may be a better time for somebody else?
Yeah, this is fine with me. It doesn't matter either way.
This is Dan. It's fine with me.
Okay.
I'm fine with it as well. This works for me fine.
All right.
Anytime is good for me.
Who was the last one? I didn't catch the voice.
Oh, anytime is
All right. So everybody who's in the meeting right now is probably good with 4 o'clock then, Dave. So, I mean, like I said, I can do it, for a few months. I think for a few months, I don't have any problem with that. So if we want to move, I don't know if you want to do a month by month thing now, or do we need to have a concrete, we're going to do it for 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, Dave, or how would you suggest?
I would say we kind of handle it similar to how the city has been handling a lot of the other things, or I should just really say a lot of agencies in general, where they put a time frame on it, and seeing how you've weighed in probably the most opinion on what may work, and everyone else is flexible. I'd say, why don't we have a motion to the matter, or to change the June and July meetings to 4 p.m. and then I guess that's all we'd really have to say, because then it just resumes back after that. So I'd say probably for the next 2 months. That's what my gut is telling me at this point. I may be wrong. I may find out more information as this week goes on. It's my understanding that we're going to get an update on Wednesday on kind of how what the mayor's plan is to move forward, at least when it comes down to operations here at City Hall. So I may have more information, but I think with what we have today, I think the June and July meetings moved to 4 p.m. would probably be a good motion.
All right, I agree. Does somebody want to make that motion then?
I'll make a motion that we move the June and July meetings to 4 p.m. on the third Monday of every month.
Okay, motion been made. Do I hear a second?
second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Let's move on to item 2, initial request. Consideration of possible action request Maryland Galvin to remove parking restrictions in the 600 block of South Urban Avenue and the 1200 block of Cass Streets that apply to the former City of the Angels Catholic School. Have at her, Dave.
Okay. Sure. Maybe I'll just defer it to Bill, since Bill is on with us. Since I know you put the request, and I do have some information on it. But Bill, do you want to add some info?
This is the St. Mary's staff. The Bellin Hospital has rented their entire parking lot, so they have no room in the parking lot to park their vehicles, the staff that are still working for St. Mary's. And what they'd like us to consider doing is removing the no parking on Irwin Street in front of the school. And then on the other side, on Cass Street, there's either 4-hour parking or no parking at all because of the buses that used to arrive and the amount of students that were in and out of the school. So they'd like it removed on in front of the school. And then on Cass Street on the side, they'd like us to consider either removing the bus parking, or the no standing or stopping sign on the north side of the street, or change the 4-hour only parking on the south side of the street to no parking restriction at all, so that their staff can park there.
Okay. Well, I think maybe what I'll do is just kind of describe what we have for existing parking zones. You've already hit on some of that, Alder Galvin. So let's take Cass Street first. That's going to be the, I guess, the building exists on the corner. So it's actually on the northwest corner of the intersection of Cass and Irwin. So the north side of Cass Street, next to the building, up to the corner, there's a short no stopping or standing zone. That zone for really to keep that intersection open, to keep it safely operating. When the school's there, obviously you have crosswalks, you want to keep that open. So I think the no stopping or standing is a little bit more there than just school operations that's there. There's church obviously on Sunday, and there's pedestrians walking to and from church as well. So I wouldn't recommend removing the no stopping or standing, and it's relatively short, so I don't really think you're going to get much out of it anyway. It's gone. Now, on the north side, continuing further to the west, you have a no parking zone. That again, it's consistent with what you have throughout Cass Street. It is a narrow street. It's only about 28 feet in width, which is why on the other side, now on the south side, we have that 4-hour parking 7 to 7 Monday through Friday zone. So I think if anything happens on Cass Street, would be similar to what the Alder is requesting, which would be to remove the 4-hour 7 to 7 Monday through Friday. So if that's the request, I don't think that you're not going to get any friction from our end on that. But I certainly would not recommend any sort of changes to the north side of Cass. Going over to Irwin Street, we have the church side on the opposite side. There's a large disabled parking area or segment, and then north of that you have a 7 to 7 Monday through Friday, and then up to the signal and no parking zone. I'm presuming that's really not under evaluation or scrutiny, but more or less the west side next to the school. So starting from the intersection of Cass and moving north, there is a 2-hour parking Saturday and Sunday in front of the school up until about that second building. And then you have a no parking Monday through Friday zone all the way up to just south of Mason Street, where it becomes no parking. And that's just to clear up the intersection. So I guess getting to the initial reason for the request, it sounds like there's Bellin Parkers in the parking lot of the church facility, or the school facility, I should say, and the remaining parkers from the school want to park on the street. There's really nothing right now that prohibits them from parking right in front of the school itself, because as it's marked, a 2-hour parking Saturday to Sunday, there is no restriction. So there's, to be quite honest, I don't know how many spots they're looking for, Bill, but from what I see, you've got plenty of space. I mean, I'm just counting some of the cars in here. I wouldn't doubt it if you'd be able to fit a dozen cars in that area currently that has no restriction. So.
But you're right. I don't think they have a ton. There's not that many. But so you think just by changing Cass Street on the south side would handle that along with Irwin Street?
Well, let me ask you this. Removing the 4 hours is going to obviously have an effect on the residents. And I do remember when that 4-hour zone was changed, and, there was some little bit of back and forth. I think that was prior to you, Bill. I don't know. I just remember Tyson bringing up a lot of these back in the day, but.
Was that hospital? Was the concern then the hospital corridor parking issue?
No. Well, I mean, I think that's what it was, is that at one time it was, but as their parking facilities expanded, that there wasn't as much of an issue on the street, which is why they relaxed it. Because I think it used to be like a 2-hour zone. We didn't even have 4-hour zones when I arrived here 14 plus years ago. I'd say maybe 10 years ago is when we first opened up that chapter.
Right.
So, I guess what I would probably look at is what is the offset number of parkers, and I'd say if the number is a dozen or less, I don't think you really need to do anything. They can all park on the west side of Irwin Street, just north of Cass Street, and they can legally do so today.
Oh, I thought there was some restriction on the north side. I mean, on Irwin Street, you're talking directly in front of the school on the west side of the street?
Correct.
I thought there was some restrictions there.
There used to be a couple of years ago. As you know, this has changed hands multiple times, like over 5 years. I mean, I think this is the third time this has come up in probably 4 to 5 years. This area has changed, and I do remember the last time, and I did confirm it in the field. I looked at pictures and everything, and I actually have it here in a little diagram that I crafted up, that it technically is available for on street. I'll be honest with you, there was really no good way to sign it because there's so many things because of the church. The church wanted to have certain things on both sides of the street, which we accommodated, and then the school wanted another thing. So that's why we have a difference. We got this Monday through Friday. You know, we got 2 hour 7 to 7 Monday through Friday there. And then, well, and that's north of there. Remember, that's no area is 2 hour parking Saturday and Sunday. That's it. Other than that, there is no restriction. There is a double zone, as I'll call it, but that's probably 200 feet north of the intersection towards kind of that middle segment. Like if you'd split that block between Mason and Cass into thirds,
Right.
that top third is no parking, you know, as you approach this clear. That middle section on the west side, actually, like I said, it kind of has two, but during the weekday, it's 2 hour parking Saturday and Sunday, so not applicable during Monday through Friday, and then no parking Monday through Friday. But that's just that middle segment.
Okay.
But then that drops. I verified that with the arrows on the signs and everything.
All right, I will. I'll call the employee that was talking to me and see how many vehicles they're talking about. Because you said it could handle a dozen.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah. I mean, there's really no driveways. I mean, that's the nice thing. It's usually when you start adding driveways, you lose a lot of spots. But you have a driveway that's north that goes to that first. Looks like that first house north of the compound. There's a couple of carriage walks, but those aren't driveways. So, you know, you can park in front of those if you want. So I see plenty of parking that's available for them right now.
All right, I'll talk to them and see what exactly how many vehicles we're talking about. And so I suppose just hold it till the next meeting and I'll let you know by then.
Yeah, we can either hold it or, I mean, if you think they're going to need more, I mean, if that's
That's what I want to make sure, you know, before we, you know, receive and place on file or whatever, and then I got to do another thing to get it back on your agenda. Let's just hold it till next week and we'll see what happens.
Sounds good.
All right, do I hear a motion to postpone for a month then on this item?
I'll make a motion to postpone until next month.
Motion been made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 3, postponed from prior meeting. Consideration with possible action request by Alderman Galvin to add Cass Street system from Bellevue Street, East Mason Street. Let one of you gentlemen start that.
Yeah, let me just start out with,
Okay.
I forwarded this. This has been an issue. It started out with Dan Golban Car Sales on Mason and Bellevue, and his company he contracted with to pick up or drop off cars was parking on the side street because they didn't want to block Bellevue Street, just south of Mason Street. The traffic enforcement officers had a conversation with him, and there hasn't been an issue since then. Whenever vehicles are picked up or dropped off, they park in one of the lanes on Bellevue Street. It take half hour to an hour. The vehicles are gone. The truck's gone. No harm, no foul. So the second complaint that came in was Cranky Pat's Pizza, and the delivery truck for Cranky Pat. You know, they contract with people to deliver food and services, and the main contractor seems to be getting new drivers every once in a while. And the new drivers, for whatever reason, en route to Cranky Pat's, would drive into residential streets surrounding that site. I think I've contacted traffic enforcement 3 times. They made contact with the owner of the company. Each time they've given them a verbal warning, and it's stopped until they get a new driver. The traffic enforcement officer involved with this thought maybe if we changed Cass Street to a truck route, that would alleviate the problem. But making Cass Street a truck route doesn't help every time they get a new driver if they don't inform the new driver what streets to drive on. And again, I think it doesn't matter if Cass Street's a truck route or not. Every time they get a new driver who hasn't been trained properly, they're going to drive on residential streets, which has nothing to do with Cass Street. It's the residential streets south and east of Cranky Pat's. In addition, after talking to Dave, there's several businesses along that Cass Street, trucks that either pick up or drop off materials related to their business. And this has been ongoing for the existence of Cass Street and those businesses there. And there's never been a problem with those vehicles. My concern with making that a truck route is, one, it doesn't solve the problem. I think it needs to be at some point, maybe a citation might get the attention of the owner so it doesn't occur anymore in the future. And my other concern is that with Cass Street as a truck route, that means large semis could all, and if you understand that where Cass Street meets Mesa Street, the engineers designed a curve there. And I see nothing but problems with a large size semi either trying to turn on to Cass Street from Mason or off of Cass Street onto Mason, especially with the amount of traffic and the speeds that are involved there. So although I put this out there, to gather this information, I'm not in favor of turning Cass Street into a truck route right now.
Okay, Dave, you want to chime in? You had some stuff from last month's meeting, kind of.
Right.
The city did not really want to do it either, or from your standpoint, from the city's department didn't want to do it either, correct?
Correct. I don't know if I don't really need to rehash any of that information, but I think what I'll do is just, you had asked, there were some questions about contacting some of these property owners just to get an update and find out if there's some sort of solution to work out and whatnot. And the two that were identified were Cranky Pat's and Dan Gobin. I was successful in contacting both owners and had discussions with them. And so I'll just start with Cranky Pat's. The contact was very favorable. Paul is the owner. He was a very nice gentleman and seemed very receptive to the discussion. He did say that most of the deliveries are made on Bellevue Street. And that's what he sees, and that a majority of them have been and continue to be on Bellevue Street. No violation, no concerns there. He said sometimes beer trucks will make delivery to his business and nearby bars on Cass Street with early morning deliveries. So, and then some of them are made from his parking lot. So what he was really saying is that they may turn down Cass Street because, like Bill was saying, there are other establishments that are along that street that are taking deliveries. So you might have a beer truck that turns onto Cass Street, say from Bellevue, faces east, might be on the south side of the street, might go, say, like maybe a parcel down. He might get out and start delivering to 2-3 different businesses around there, get back in his truck and leave. That's what I interpreted out of the discussion. And with that knowledge, there really is no violation of any ordinance at all, because our ordinance allows for heavy trucks to deviate from the truck route, shortest and most practical route. So I didn't see an issue with that. It happens all over the place. I think I mentioned at the last meeting, our downtown is a prime example. We only have, I think, 2 or 3 streets that are identified in our whole downtown, yet we get deliveries on probably almost every block. So, I really don't see how this is really any different than that. Moving on to on a Dan Gobin, I was able to talk to one of his associates, and then he ended up walking in, and then I took the phone call and spoke with him for some time. He did say that the truck transport drivers are instructed to load and unload on Bellevue. When I say they're instructed, these are contracted people, so they don't directly work for him. So they may take deliveries, say from, Dan might be buying cars from Ohio or something, and they come into town, they drop off. He says that they have, most of them are 1 to 3 car haulers, which probably when you would actually probably total up the weight, they may not even exceed the truck route ordinance, which is 10,000 pounds. I don't know. But I know that I personally have had a car delivered. I bought a car once and had it delivered on a one car hauler, and it certainly wasn't over 10,000. At least I don't think so. But he did say 1 to 3 car haulers are the majority, and then on occasion he gets 9 car haulers, and he does instruct them to go make their loading or unloading activities on Bellevue Street. So I think that, you know, in talking with Bill over the months, that it sounds like the stories are the same, that, you know, the activity happened, there was some discussion that happened, and he did during that conversation confirm that he's talked with Bill as well. So, you know, things sound like they're working out fine in that department as well. Yeah, just real quickly, I guess I will just route back to what I had said last time. You know, the heavy truck routes, you know, we like them to have connectivity and provide connectivity, but there is connectivity that's nearby, and all this does is really kind of provide a cut through. When we also talked about, you know, what we're seeing on some of these delivery trucks are really not in violation of the law. So you know, again, there's nothing illegal per se happening on a lot of these deliveries. Bill had mentioned about the S-curve, as I call it, at East Mason Street. And you heard me at the last meeting, I do have issues with that. Seeing how if you have a heavier truck trying to go northbound to westbound, and they say there's a speeding vehicle eastbound on East Mason Street, and given that curve and it's somewhat close to the intersection, I think that could produce some issues. And not that it may not happen. I mean, it may happen today. I don't know. But I think if we encourage that activity by putting it on the truck route, that potentially could put the city in some liability. Lastly would be the repair of the construction. I had mentioned last time that if it goes into the truck route system, it's going to get a thicker pavement, perhaps maybe even concrete. If it just goes with a thicker asphalt, our estimation at today's current prices, so the future would be a higher number, would be roughly $23,000. And given the wheel tax now in place, this is basically going to be a cost that gets basically charged to Public Works. So this is something that we would have to add to our budget in order to come up with the shortfall there. So with that, you know, Public Works, our opinion has not changed on this item, and they would look for the item to be either denied or received and placed on file.
So it sounds, just keep it the way it is then?
Correct.
All right. Receive and place, do I entertain a motion to receive and place on file then?
Motion to receive and place on file.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Move on. Got quite a few terminations here tonight, Dave. Do you want to lump some of them together and put some numbers together? And
Sure, I can do that.
We normally do.
Items 4 through 10 were all related to that area over by, I forget what the guy, he's a chef, a TV chef, and he moved into this place and was looking to get rid of the 15-minute loading zone. So there was 2 different loading zones that were removed successfully and are working out. I know, Bill, that's your district. I don't know if you've heard anything.
No complaints whatsoever.
Okay. So 4 and 10, certainly I would adopt by ordinance. I think we're going to be able to take all these together, but I just want to kind of group them together and then we'll make one recommendation.
Okay.
Number 11, the Roosevelt Street Grinion to Emily, removing of the 2-hour again. That's okay. No parking west side of Adams Street to a point 100 feet south of Cass Street. That one was associated to Johnson Bank getting rid of their on-street permit parking, and because permit parking is basically done by contract, that's why it's not in here. And basically what we're doing is filling the gap and just putting the no parking. Well, this is that no parking here at corner zone. This is the beginning of it. So that would be what we did there. Termination on Wheezy Street, Leo Frigo. Oh, this one is related to Project Wolfpack. This is where we, Myron Construction had asked for some parking restrictions, basically to get compliance by their employees to use their busing system. They were just looking at it from a safety perspective, trying to minimize the number of employees that were crossing North Quincy Street to the Project Wolfpack construction site. So that item number 13, excuse me, 13 and 14 are all relative to that item. 15 would be the Eastman Avenue, Quincy to Webster, and so is 16 as well. These two are related. This is the one where Alder LaFave had some residents that were concerned about truck traffic on Eastman, and they wanted to add on-street parking to somewhat deter that issue from occurring. I know there's been some ancillary discussions that went with that I know Brad was involved with relative to some of the instructions too that were being given by the guard shack as well. So I think we're kind of approaching this from a multifaceted way, but this parking is certainly working. I actually talked with Alder LaFave today, and she said that they're very happy with that. So that's working. 17 would be Kellogg Street, 18, Broadway, 19, 20, 21, 22. Those are all related to the rail yard and basically cutting through Kellogg Street and its connection to Broadway. Its official connection, I should say, and connection into the rail yard. So all of those were some parking restrictions that we had to change based on the change of the infrastructure. 23, 24, and 25 were related. This is for that counseling business that where they had there was a resident that was concerned about all the employees parking on the street. So we ended up extending that or shortening up, I should say, that no parking here to corner zone to let those employees, give them a couple more spots so they weren't parking in front of residential properties. And that's worked out great. Haven't heard anything back from them. And then that last one was simply to paint curb yellow by that resident's property, just so that they weren't having issues with getting mail and garbage and pickup and all that kind of stuff. So I will make a recommendation for items 4 through 25 to all be accepted and adopted by ordinance.
Dave, if I could real quick, I think I've got a question about the one on Adams Street. I think it's number 12. No parking terminating or to establish a no parking zone on the west side of Adams Street. Isn't that in front of the water department? I thought
Yes.
That's because of the trail being closed. And I think once the trail is reconnected, and I'm not sure where that is on the planning stages, but once that trail is reconnected to the trail, I think we could change that again and allow parking there one more time.
Yes, yeah. This was always, our interpretation of this is more of a temporary measure, and that temporary, could be like a year until that trail is reconnected. But yes, I misspoke. I apologize on 12. I was talking about Johnson Bank, but really this was due to the construction site over there, and because we lost that sidewalk in that area in the trail.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. My recommendations are the same, though.
All right. Do we have a motion for Dave's recommendation for 4 through 25 then?
Also move.
Motion been made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Let's move on to the end of the list. Informational. Next meeting, Monday, June 15th, 2020. So anybody know that they might not be available at that next month? If not, let us know. And with that, unless anybody else has any other topics, I know we can't bring up topics or anything else to say, I guess, tonight. If not, well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn for the meeting tonight.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. We are adjourned then. Everybody stay safe.